Call me back, now. I sat on my work stool, staring at the Mustang's exposed engine. 18 years, 2 daughters, a house in the suburbs, a business I'd built with my own hands. And Jessica wanted to throw it all away for my little brother who couldn't even hold down a job for more than 6 months. The garage door rumbled open. Jessica's white BMW pulled into the driveway, her headlights cutting through the darkness. She stepped out wearing the same black dress she'd worn to work that morning, but her hair was different, messier, like she'd been running her hands through it, or someone else had. "We need to talk," she said, not even looking at me as she grabbed a suitcase from her trunk. "I got your text," I said, standing up slowly. Real classy, Jess. 18 years of marriage and you break up with me via text message? She finally met my eyes, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Not guilt, not regret, relief. This isn't working anymore, David. We both know it. I need something different, someone who gets me. And that someone is my brother? Colin makes me feel alive again. When I'm with him, I remember who I used to be before I became just a wife and mother. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Just a wife and mother. Like the life we'd built together was some kind of prison sentence. What about Maddie and Chloe? What about our family? Jessica hefted her suitcase, avoiding my gaze. The girls will understand eventually. Kids are resilient. They're 15 and 11, Jessica. This is going to destroy them. No, David. Staying in a dead marriage would destroy them. They deserve to see their mother happy. She walked past me toward the house, her heels clicking on the concrete. I followed her inside, my work boots heavy on the hardwood floors we'd picked out together 5 years ago. Maddie was sitting at the kitchen island, her laptop open, probably doing homework. She looked up as we entered, her expression shifting from neutral to concerned as she took in Jessica's suitcase and my oil-stained clothes. "Mom? Dad? What's going on?" Jessica set down her suitcase and smoothed her dress. "Sweetheart, your father and I need to have an adult conversation. Can you go upstairs and check on your sister?" "Is everything okay?" Maddie's voice was small, uncertain. "Everything's going to be fine," Jessica said, with the same tone she used when promising the girls ice cream after dentist appointments. "We just need to work some things out." Maddie gathered her laptop and headed upstairs, but I caught her glancing back at us with worried eyes. Smart kid. She knew something was wrong. Once we were alone, Jessica pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. Colin's apartment, his unmade bed, her clothes on his floor. "I'm 3 weeks pregnant," she said matter-of-factly. "It's his." The kitchen tilted. I gripped the counter, my knuckles white against the granite we'd spent months picking out at the home improvement store. "You're pregnant? With Colin's baby?" "Yes." "And you're leaving me? For him?" "Yes." I laughed, but it came out hollow and bitter. "Well, at least you're consistent. When you make a decision, you really commit to it." Jessica's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smiled, the first genuine expression I'd seen from her all night. "That's Colin. He's picking me up in 20 minutes. "Where are you going?" "His place for now. We're looking at apartments this weekend, somewhere with good schools for the girls." "The girl? You think I'm just going to let you take my daughters?" "Our daughters, David. And yes, I think joint custody is best for everyone." I stared at her, this woman I'd loved for 20 years, and realized I was looking at a stranger. The Jessica I'd married would never have done this. She would have talked to me, worked with me, tried to fix things. This Jessica was cold, calculated, already 3 steps ahead. "I want you out of the house by Sunday," she continued, checking her reflection in her phone's camera. "I'll be back with the girls then, and I don't want any drama." This is my house too, Jessica. I'm not going anywhere. Actually, you are. I've already spoken to my lawyer. Since I make more money and can provide better stability for the children, I'll be filing for primary custody and possession of the marital home. My auto shop was successful, but Jessica's law firm salary was twice what I made. In a custody battle, that would matter. You've got this all figured out, don't you? I've been planning this for months, David. I'm not the same woman who married you when she was 22 and didn't know any better. A car honked outside. Colin's red Camaro. The one I'd helped him pick out 2 years ago when he got his last job. The irony wasn't lost on me. Jessica grabbed her suitcase and headed for the door. She paused in the doorway, looking back at me one last time. For what it's worth, I did love you once, but people change. I changed, and I deserve to be happy. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Through the window, I watched her climb into Colin's car. He leaned over to kiss her, his hand on her still flat stomach. They drove away together, leaving me standing in my kitchen, surrounded by the life we'd built and the family photos that now felt like evidence of a crime. I walked back to the garage and picked up my phone. Still no return call from Colin, but there was a new text from Jessica. "I've blocked your number. All communication goes through my lawyer now. Her name is Patricia Hendricks." I looked at the Mustang, its engine exposed and vulnerable. Some things could be restored. Others were too broken to fix. The next morning arrived like a hangover I didn't remember earning. I'd spent the night in the garage, dozing in my desk chair between the Mustang and a half-empty bottle of bourbon I kept for particularly difficult repair jobs. The kind where the customer insisted their car just started making weird noises after they'd clearly driven it through a flood. Maddie found me there at 7 a.m., still in yesterday's oil-stained clothes. "Dad, why are you sleeping in the garage?" I rubbed my eyes, trying to focus. My daughter stood in the doorway wearing her school uniform, backpack slung over one shoulder. Behind her, 11-year-old Chloe peeked around the corner, her blonde hair still messy from sleep. "Where's Mom?" Chloe asked. She wasn't in her room this morning. The question hit like a wrench to the chest. How do you tell your kids that their mother has decided to blow up their world for a chance to play house with their uncle? "Your mom had to go handle some work stuff," I said, standing up and immediately regretting it as my back protested. "She'll be back soon." "Her car's not in the driveway," Maddie said. She'd inherited Jessica's attention to detail and my stubborn refusal to accept easy answers. "What are you doing here? Trying to understand how my wife and my brother could betray me so completely? It's not a betrayal if the marriage was already over. Was it over when you were planning our anniversary trip last month? Was it over when you signed the Christmas cards, Love the Martinez family? Or did it just become over when you decided you wanted to play house with someone new?" Jessica set down the coffee and crossed her arms. "You want to know when it was over? It was over when you stopped seeing me as anything other than a wife and mother. When you stopped asking about my dreams, my goals, my feelings. When I became just another responsibility to manage. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you asked me about my work, my cases, my life outside of this house and those kids?" I opened my mouth to answer and realized I couldn't remember. When had we stopped talking about anything other than logistics, school pickups, grocery lists, who was taking which kid to which activity? That doesn't justify this, Jessica. No, it doesn't, but it explains it. Colin moved to stand beside her, his hand resting on her lower back in a gesture that was probably meant to be supportive, but felt like a slap in the face. "Dave, I'm sorry it happened this way," he said, "but I'm not sorry it happened. Jessica deserves to be happy. And my daughters? Do they deserve to have their family destroyed? They deserve parents who love each other," Jessica said, "not parents who go through the motions because it's easier than admitting the truth." I looked at them standing together, united against me, my wife and my brother, the two people who should have had my back no matter what. She's rewriting history to make herself feel better about what she did. Is she? Because I remember you complaining about her working late, about her going to the gym all the time. You did seem pretty suspicious. I was suspicious because my wife was having an affair. My instincts were right. Or your jealousy drove her away. I leaned back in the booth, studying my friend's face. Ray had made up his mind about this situation, and nothing I said was going to change it. In his version of events, I was the villain who'd pushed my wife into another man's arms. So that's it? 25 years of friendship down the drain because my wife told your wife a sob story? It's not that simple, Dave. It's exactly that simple. Jessica and Colin betrayed me, lied to me, and destroyed my family. And instead of supporting me, you're taking their side. I'm not taking anyone's side. Yes, you are. By believing their version instead of mine, you're absolutely taking a side. Ray drained his beer and stood up. I think we both need some space to cool off. Space? Ray, my wife left me for my brother. My daughters are devastated. I'm fighting for custody and trying to keep my business afloat while dealing with all this drama. I don't need space. I need my friends. I'm sorry, Dave. I really am. But I can't get involved in this mess. He walked away, leaving me alone in our booth with 2 untouched baskets of wings and the realization that I'd lost more than just my marriage. Over the next week, the pattern repeated itself. Mike Chen, who'd been in my wedding party, suddenly stopped returning my calls. Tom Bradley, my neighbor and weekend golf partner, found excuses to avoid me. Even guys from the Auto Shop Association started treating me differently at meetings.
Jessica had gotten to them all. Her version of events was spreading through our social circle like a virus, and I was being quarantined. The final straw came on a Saturday morning. I was at Home Depot buying supplies to fix the fence that had been damaged in a recent storm. The same fence Jessica and I had installed together 3 years ago, arguing about post spacing and paint colors. I rounded the corner into the hardware aisle and found myself face to face with Ray, Mike, and Tom. They were clustered around a display of power tools, clearly planning some kind of group project I hadn't been invited to. "Dave," Ray said, his voice carefully neutral, "how's it going?" "It's going great, Ray. My wife's pregnant with my brother's baby, I'm sleeping in my garage, and my daughter asked me yesterday if mommy doesn't love us anymore. Living the dream." The 3 of them exchanged glances. Mike cleared his throat. "Look, Dave, we heard about the custody thing. That's gotta be tough." "Yeah, it's tough, especially when Jessica's lawyer is painting me as some kind of unstable deadbeat who can't provide for his kids." "Well," Tom said, "maybe if you hadn't let your business slide so much recently." "Let my business slide? Tom, I've been working 60-hour weeks to keep up with demand." "That's not what I heard. I heard you've been drinking pretty heavily, missing appointments with customers." I stared at him. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter?" "It matters because it's a lie. I've never missed a customer appointment in 15 years of business." "Come on, Dave," Ray said. "We're all friends here. If you're struggling, we can help."
There were photos on Colin's social media that showed Jessica in the background, carefully cropped but still visible. Most damaging of all, there were text messages. Colin, it turned out, had been backing up his phone to a cloud account that he'd set up using his old email address, the one I still had access to because I'd helped him create it years ago when he was too lazy to figure it out himself. The messages between him and Jessica went back 7 months, not the 4 Colin had admitted to. They were explicit, detailed, and showed a level of planning that contradicted Jessica's claim that the affair just happened. More importantly, they revealed Jessica's true feelings about our daughters. "The girls are going to be a problem," she'd written to Colin in February, "especially Maddie. She's so attached to David. We might need to consider boarding school." Boarding school for my 15-year-old daughter who was already struggling with the divorce. Another message from March. "I can't wait to start fresh with you. No baggage, no complications, just us and our baby." No baggage. That's what she called our children. The most damaging message was from just 2 weeks ago. "David's lawyer is pushing for joint custody. Can you have one of your gym buddies say they saw him drinking before picking up the girls? We need something that shows he's unfit." They were planning to frame me, to manufacture evidence that would cost me my daughters. I took the evidence to my lawyer, who smiled for the first time since I'd hired him. "This changes everything," he said. "Conspiracy to commit perjury, adultery with documentation, financial infidelity. Your wife just handed us her head on a platter." But I wasn't satisfied with just winning the custody case.
"And I'll let you and Colin deal with the consequences of your choices in private. I need time to think. You have until Sunday. After that, I'm releasing the rest of the evidence I've gathered. And trust me, Jessica, what I've shared so far is just the tip of the iceberg." I hung up and poured myself a bourbon. For the first time in months, I felt like I was winning, but the war wasn't over yet. Sunday came and went without a word from Jessica. I took that as my answer and proceeded accordingly. On Monday morning, I sent a comprehensive package to Jessica's law firm containing all the evidence Patricia had gathered about Jessica's misuse of company resources. By noon, Jessica had been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. On Tuesday, I shared additional text messages on social media, including the ones where Jessica and Colin discussed lying about my fitness as a parent. The post went viral in our community, shared hundreds of times, with comments ranging from supportive to outraged. On Wednesday, Colin was arrested for unemployment fraud. The local newspaper ran a small item about it, identifying him as the brother of prominent local businessman David Martinez. By Thursday, Jessica was desperate. She showed up at my house that evening, looking haggard and defeated. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she was wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt instead of her typical professional attire. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside and let her into the living room, where we'd spent so many evenings together as a family. The irony wasn't lost on me. "The girls are at your mother's," I said. "We can talk freely." "David, you have to stop this. You're destroying everything." "I'm not destroying anything, Jessica."
My career is over. My relationship with Colin is falling apart under the pressure. My family won't speak to me, and I'm probably going to lose my children. You're not going to lose the girls completely. I'm not you, Jessica. I won't try to keep them from their mother out of spite. But you'll get primary custody. Yes, because I can provide them with a stable home, and because you've proven that you're willing to put your own desires ahead of their well-being. She nodded, tears starting to fall. I know, I screwed up everything. I felt so trapped, David, like I was disappearing into this role of wife and mother and losing myself completely. You could have talked to me. We could have worked on it together. I tried. Remember the conversation we had last Christmas? I told you I was feeling disconnected, unfulfilled. You said I should take up a hobby. I did remember that conversation. Jessica had brought up feeling restless, and I'd suggested she join a book club or take an art class. At the time, it had seemed like a reasonable response. Now I realized how dismissive it must have sounded. I'm sorry I didn't take you seriously. It doesn't matter now. The damage is done. We sat in silence for a while. Two people who had once loved each other enough to build a life together, now sitting in the wreckage of that life. What happens now? She asked finally. Now you and Colin face the consequences of your choices. You figure out how to rebuild your lives separately, and we work out a custody arrangement that's best for Maddie and Chloe. And us? Is there any chance? No, Jessica. There's no going back from this. Even if I could forgive the affair, I can't forgive the lies you told about me. You tried to paint me as an abusive father to win a custody case. That's unforgivable. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I know. I just had to ask. For what it's worth, I hope you figure out how to be happy. I hope you find whatever it was you were looking for. I don't think I was looking for anything real. I think I was just running away from growing up. She stood to leave, then turned back one more time. The girls are going to ask questions about all this, about why Colin and I aren't together anymore, about why I lost my job, about why everything fell apart so quickly. And what do you want me to tell them? The truth. They deserve that much. After she left, I walked through the house that would soon be just mine and the girls. It felt different already. Not empty exactly, but cleaner somehow, like a weight had been lifted. I called Patricia to let her know the case was essentially over. Your wife's smart to surrender now, she said. The evidence we gathered would have buried her in court. What about Colin? He'll probably get probation and community service for the fraud charges, assuming he doesn't have any priors. But his reputation is shot. Word gets around in the fitness industry. And Jessica? She might be able to rebuild her legal career eventually, but it'll take years, and she'll never work for a prestigious firm again. I hung up and poured myself a drink, not in celebration, but in acknowledgement that this chapter of my life was finally closing. 2 weeks later, Jessica and Colin's relationship ended as abruptly as it had begun. The stress of the legal problems, the financial difficulties, and the social ostracism had been too much for their supposedly great love to withstand. Colin moved back in with his parents in another state, tail between his legs. Jessica moved into a small apartment across town and took a job with a small practice that handled personal injury cases, a significant step down from her previous position, but the best she could manage given her circumstances. The custody arrangement gave me primary custody, with Jessica getting the girls every other weekend and one evening per week. It was more generous than I needed to be, but I meant what I'd said about not keeping the girls from their mother out of spite. As for my friends who had abandoned me during the crisis, I accepted their apologies but kept them at arm's length. Fair weather friends aren't really friends at all. 6 months later, I was working late in the garage when Maddie came out to find me. "Dad, can we talk?" "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" "I just wanted to say thank you for fighting for us, for not letting Mom take us away from you." "You don't need to thank me for that, Maddie. You're my daughter. I'll always fight for you." "I know, but Mom told me some of the things she said about you, the lies she told to try to win the custody case. That must have hurt." It did hurt, but it also showed me who I could really count on when things got tough. "Are you happy now? Without Mom, I mean?" I considered the question carefully. "I'm not happy that our family broke up. I'm not happy that you and Chloe had to go through all this pain, but I'm happy that the truth came out. I'm happy that we're together, and I'm happy that we can start rebuilding our lives based on honesty instead of lies." "Good, because Chloe and I like it better this way. It's calmer here now." She hugged me and went back inside, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the Mustang I was finally close to finishing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't elaborate or dramatic. Sometimes it's just living well